Hello everyone, Jerome here. As you can see, we are actually on a boat and on our way up lake into a beach location. And so today I actually want to show you the ins and outs of up lake navigation and anchoring. So let's go ahead and get started here. Alright, first thing I want to point out today is that while you're cruising up lake, you're going to notice that you do have some colored buoys, which are red and green. They do have numbers on them, and these numbers do correspond with the Lake Powell map that is available for you. That way you can go back and reference as to your current location. Also would like to note that while you're cruising up lake, the red buoys need to be on your right and the green buoys need to be on your left. And again, that's while you're moving up lake. Right now we are on our way into Warm Creek Bay, but I would like to point out that white buoy markers, as you'll see here in just a bit, are generally marked with canyon names. Okay, so now we've made our way towards the back of Warm Creek Bay, and we are going to begin the process of discovering our beach to anchor to. So what you want to start with is looking out in distance, just looking for a nice open beach in which you can dig your holes for your anchors. So once we begin our approach, you and your passengers can actually hang out on the sides of the boats and actually keep an eye out for any underlying objects or rock structures. That way we're not damaging the underside of the boat. And when we begin our approach, you're going to go at a slow cruising speed, and once you're nearing the beach, we're going to go ahead and slow down. So we'll show you that here in just a bit. Okay, so now that we begin our approach to the beach, notice that the captain or the driver is currently at the bottom helm driving. Now this should always be done at all times. The person driving should always be downstairs at the bottom helm. When approaching the beach, you don't want any fast speeds, so you have slow cruising speed, which is more than likely your wakeless speed. And you're going to begin approaching, and once you get closer, I'd say about 10 to 15 feet offshore, you're going to hit your reverse and begin to slow down until you make contact with the beach. And once you've made contact, you begin to straighten up the boat and push forward with your motors. Okay. So now we're going to begin with the anchor process. Motors are still on, driver's still at the helm controlling the back end of the boat. Today we're going to begin on the starboard side of the houseboat just because we have a little breeze coming in and blowing on the starboard side. Okay, so now that the anchors have been deployed along with the anchor rope, we begin a process of figuring out our angles. And angles, by that I mean your anchor ropes. Your anchor ropes need to be coming out from the back side of the boat to the beach at about a 45-degree angle. This can be easily done by walking the length of your boat alongside the beach. So which our case is a 70-foot long vessel, so 70 feet on the beach. In beginning to pick your location for the hole, there are a couple things that need to be done first. You need to choose your spot based on fluctuating water levels. If the water's rising, then you definitely need to dig your hole a lot higher on the beach. If it's starting to go down towards the end of the season, then we're going to bring it down towards the shoreline. Otherwise, you're going to have to undig and redig your anchors. After we've picked our spot, I'm going to mark out in the dirt the way the shaft is going to be pointed towards the back corner of the boat. So, and the easiest way to do that is just to mark a T in the dirt. So now that we know where we want to dig our hole, the hole has to be wide enough to hold the anchor itself. It also needs to be at least 3.5 feet deep. So here we go. Alright, so the hole is complete. Again, 3.5 feet down. We dug a trench out for the shaft here. That way we can go ahead and tie it to the anchor rope, and there's not much strain on the shaft itself. So to begin the process of dropping the anchor into the hole, you want to keep in mind that the two forks, the 2 points, need to be pointed downward into the hole. So when you're ready to do so, all you're going to do, firm grip on the shaft and just drop it in. At this point, you go and step on the anchor yourself. Now press down with your body weight. Okay, so now I'm going to tie our anchor rope onto the shackle of the anchor. But before doing so, you may want to get your anchor rope wet. Just throw it in the water. That way it's going to be easier for you to tie your bowline knot. Now the bowline knot is probably the best knot to use out here while tying anything. You know, ski boats, anchor. So we'll go ahead and run through that real quick. Tighten it up and give it a nice little tug. We are set. Alright, so let's fill our hole. Alright, our anchor is now in the hole, covered with the sand, and now you would want to begin to just step over it and press down just to pack the dirt, the sand back in place. Well, let's get started on our second hole. So with the inner anchor, it's going to be a lot different from the outside. As you can see, I have it tied up to the front of the bow. Now, the boat itself needs to be mostly straight with the beach itself. That way we can work our way to get as much angle possible with the amount of rope that has been given to us. All right, so with both ends being tied, we're just gonna sit here, pull on the rope, go right at this area. We're probably just gonna set the rope and begin digging our hole. All right, so now for this anchor, we have it set in the hole. We're not gonna tie a bowline to the shackle. We're actually just gonna take the rope and we're gonna weave our way in and out of the shackle. And from here, it's just gonna go straight to the bow cleat and to be tied off. Alright, so we just finished digging the hole, setting the anchor and the anchor rope on one side of the houseboat. Now, and it is, again, on the side that the wind is hitting the side of the boat. And again, that is where you would want to start first. From here, we're going to go ahead and attack the other side, dig our hole, set the anchors, and after that, we're going to go ahead and begin tightening the anchor ropes. All right, so the process for tightening your anchor ropes, you're going to have to use the driver and the motors in order to create slack in your anchor line. Now that you have all 4 holes dug on the beach, the anchor is neatly secured with the lines running to the boat, to and from the boat. You're going to ask your driver to power up and slightly lean on one side of the anchor line. All right, so here at the back of the boat, we have the outer anchor. Now, we have the boat in forward gear and leaning off on the other side. I'm going to untie from the cleat here. We're going to re-wrap around while pulling through all the slack, and we're going to neatly secure it back on the back deck. And again, we're going to try to get this as tight as we can. Alright, so now with the inner anchor, we're going to tighten up the anchor rope. First, beginning with the shackle at the anchor, we're going to pull as much slack through the shackle, and from there we're going to work our way back up to the front of the houseboat. Once at the front of the houseboat, we're going to unwrap from the cleat and re-tighten, pulling through as much slack as possible. Once all said is and done, you should be able to go back to neutral position for your boat. And notice how the lines are all out of the water. Your anchor line should always be very taut, which means your lines are definitely going to be hanging above water. Alright, during your trip you may see that you may get some slack in your anchor line. Now this is due to the fluctuating water levels here at Lake Powell. So in the early months of the season, water begins to rise on the shoreline, and when it is rising, it produces slack in your anchor line. So in order to take care of this, you need to tighten your ropes every morning and sometimes maybe every evening. And with this, you're just going to go through your tightening process. In the later months of our season, the water begins to retract and go down. So this puts you at risk of beaching your houseboat, and it also causes the anchor lines to over tighten. So in order to prevent this, you need to loosen up the anchor lines, appoint someone at the helm so that they can back off the shoreline and reapproach. Once the boat has been re-secured to the beach, you need to retighten your anchor lines and neatly secure them to the cleats. Now, to begin your unanchor process, you first need someone at the helm with the motors on. After that, you're going to start unanchoring on your leeward side of the houseboat, and you're going to create slack in your anchor lines using the driver. You're going to have them power forward into the beach and swing the back end of your boat into the leeward side of the houseboat. You will begin to untie from the cleats on the back and the front and pull in the rest of your slack and undo your anchors and neatly secure all tools on the front deck of the houseboat. Once the leeward side has been complete, then you can begin to create slack on the windward side. The windward side should always be done last. That way it gives you time and gives you somebody appointed at the helm time to just sit there and hold the boat steady. Again, once all holes are undug and anchors and ropes are out of the water, they all need to be nicely secured to the houseboat. And from there, you can go and begin reversing off of the beach and on your way back to the marina. We have completed our unanchor service, and as you can see, we have neatly secured our anchor rope and anchor line to the bow of the houseboat. Now we ask you to please clean up all trash that has been left behind on the beach and leave it nicely set up for the next group to show. From Antelope Point Marina, we would also like to thank you for renting with us, and we do hope to see you soon in a later trip. Thank you very much.